So if you've watched my channel for the past year, you'll know that about a year ago I filmed a video on the cheapest E36 M3 in America, what we thought. Justas' E36 M3 4.5. Got this car for $1,500, S52 running and driving. And in that video I touched on the plans he had for this car, and it may not look any different now from the outside, but if you come over here and you open the hood, if I can find it, we have an S54 power plant in this car, which is the E36 M3 motor, if you did not know. So this was his plan from the start with this thing, and he finished this car a couple months ago. Had some issues that he had to dial in and troubleshoot, but it is now ripping and running, and I asked him if I could film a video on it, and he let me. So thank you, Justas, for letting me rip this thing and film, because this is a very special swap, a very special car. Really cool. This is something that I guess a lot of people do, but I don't think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people want to do it, but don't actually complete it. It's not quite as simple as putting an S54 in a non-M E36. It's a little more involved than that, but I think the swap is worth it, and I'll touch on this as we go rip it and drive it. But so anyway, to start here, it's just a stock S54 with a HPE tune, which is our HTE tune, which is you know, the basic stuff, EWS delete, a little extra power, a little more red line, special intake ducting here because his IATs were ridiculous, because he's actually using a factory E36 M3 airbox, and because it's sitting right basically by the upper radiator hose, his IATs were outrageous. So he's got some special ducting there. Otherwise, basically to jam this thing in here, it is consisting of E36 motor mount arms, E36 power steering and AC, and everything else is E46 M3. Like, this is a complete E46 M3 motor with an E46 M3 harness with an adapter on it, a ZF 5-speed from the E36 originally, and it all pretty much just fits in here nicely. I could talk to him more about how the swap went, but as you know, he updated me, it didn't seem like it was too bad. The motor itself getting in there wasn't too bad, and everything around it, stock E46 expansion tank, a little bit modified to, not modified, but you know, located in a kind of a weird way. But this is what she looks like in the engine bay now. So I say we go and we rip this thing around, and I'll let you guys know my impressions on it, how it feels, if it's worth it, and we go from there. But I will say, and you'll hear when I start driving it, the exhaust setup on this car, it sounds sick. So what it is Megan Racing E46 M3 headers with a E46 M3 stock section 1 and section 2, but with a modified extra resonator in it. So basically the rasp delete that you can do on the E46. So E46 M3 from the headers back to the section 3, where then it is a Corsa muffler. So stock E46 M3 exhaust system with an E36 M3 Corsa at the back. So it is really crazy how much actually stock E46 M3 stuff you can use on this swap. Basically all you need is E36 muffler, transmission, you know, brackets, power steering, AC, and I mean that's pretty much it. It's kind of crazy. Stock cluster, and it all works. So to start with this car, just driving it casually, the first thing that you'll notice is how weird the gas pedal situation is. So as you guys know, the E36 M3s are all cable driven. E46 M3s are drive-by-wire electronic throttle. You can do a cable on the S54, but there's a lot of like crazy things you gotta do. You gotta make like brackets, you know, mechanisms, stuff like that is what he told me. So it's, at the end of the day, almost just easier to go ahead and keep it drive-by-wire, which means using the E46 M3 stock gas pedal. And I'll put in a clip. You can see it kind of looks a little wonky. The way you kind of have to mount it isn't perfect, and because of that, it's really close to the brake pedal, which makes it really tricky driving. It's really easy to, you know, hit the brakes and hit the gas. So it's a little bit sketchy, so you gotta get around that. And on top of that is just, if you've driven E36s, you know it's just a very manual feeling experience, because you have a manual throttle, you know, you have a cable. So then you get an E36 and you feel a drive-by-wire like electronic throttle, and it's just really weird. It's really weird to get used to. Not in a bad way or a good way. It's just, if you know these cars, you know that it's not what they are originally, which is weird. But aside from that, it drives just like an E36 M3, but with more power. I would say that's the best way to great. He needs a new a master cylinder. It's ridiculously bad. I can't even believe you still drive this car like this, Justas. I don't know what you're thinking with that. But aside from that, it drives really nice, like nice and casually. But let's actually drive it now. You know, let's have some fun with it. So I want the window down so you guys can hear exhaust note, but let's see what we got here. Oh, she spins easy. So you hear that exhaust? It sounds good. It's really weird because, you know, this E36 cluster, redline 65, the S54 82. So like you're going way into your red line, which feels really scary. You know, it doesn't feel right, but that's how it is. Let's just listen to this S54. I can't not hit the gas pedal when I'm trying to hit the brakes. It's really, really bad. But I mean, this thing screams. It sounds, I'll try to find a clip of my E36 M3's exhaust. It sounds way different. Like, I don't know if it's because the extra resonator obviously helps. I think it's just a matter of the headers, and then the E36 M3 exhaust, I don't know, it just makes for this like crazy sounding thing that I honestly like it better than like my E46 M3's noise, which is just a status Grupp Scorza muffler, stock everything else. I think it sounds way cooler, less raspy, so the rasp reducer is doing its job, and it's got like 4 like resonators on it or something like that. No cats right now, but he wants to add cats, and if you were in this car right now, you'd understand why. The fumes are pretty noxious. Like, it is, it's strong. S54s, I guess, reek without cats. But, it sounds amazing. Here we go. Oh yeah, she spins. So you have to forgive me. I haven't driven this car a ton, so my, you know, I'm not power shifting it or driving it to basically max, you know, potential here. I'm still kind of learning it as we go. So E46 M3s are 3,400 pounds. E36 M3s are about 3,000, give or take. So about 400 pound difference, which isn't like insane. It's not like an E46 to like an E30. But it's still like something. And as you guys know, we're trying to go fast in a car. Everything matters. Weight matters. A few pounds matters. So you take, you know, shave off 400 pounds, and it's kind of insane. And this car is just much more bare bones than an E46. I say this a lot about my E46. You feel very connected to the road in E46, but when you drive like E34s and E36s and E30s a lot, it does feel disconnected. Just, you know, it's more solid, a lot more sound deadening, this and that. So you put the power plant from that car into a 400 pound lesser technology car, and it's insane. Like, this car feels great. And I don't think E46 M3s feel bad. Like, the power that they have in stock form, I think is pretty fair for that car. I don't think it's disappointing. But E36 M3s stock are disappointing. Everyone knows the whole American market versus Euro market. E36 M3, the S50B32 Euro versus an S52 or an S50 American. It's a pathetic difference. The S52 in Europe was pretty much, or S50B32 was pretty much a mini S54, meaning like not much horsepower less. So I honestly feel like an E36 M3 in Europe would probably feel close to what this car is. Not quite there, because again, the power is a little different, and the tuning on this car makes it even more aggressive than a stock E46. But it's not to say that, you know, it's, hold on, I can't talk right now, I gotta corner. Like, this thing is a monster in the corners. And it's kind of scary because I don't know the grip, I don't know like if it's gonna like swing out on me, and I don't want to do that, but So again, E36 M3 is not like a disappointment, but it doesn't feel like how this car feels. Like, I've had my E46 for a long time now. It doesn't put a smile on my face. Well, okay, let's not say that. It puts a smile on my face for sure, but I'm used to it, right? This thing is crazy, dude. It feels raw. It feels so raw that it feels like it's just a whole different car. I mean, stock E36 M3s are disappointing. Like, I think everyone could kind of agree on that. Like, they're peppy, but they're not fun at all. An E34 540 will, you know, walk the doors off one. But you put like this power plant in here, and it is another beast, man. You get the best of both worlds, I guess. I guess you get the bare bones, the styling, and the feel of an E36, but you get the power of an E46, which is much better. That's the one thing about the E36 is it lacks power factory. This thing gets rid of all those worries of not much power, and it is a tremendous amount of fun. So I will have to ask Justas his final kind of cost of this swap. I want to say this is going to be under, I want to say it's around the $5,000 mark. It might be less. I'll update it when I ask him. I can't think off the top of my head, but pretty much an S54 these days, if you're patient like he was, is 3 to like, I don't know, 3 to 5, I guess. I think he paid less than 3. He got a really good deal with a lot of parts, but you gotta be patient like him, and you gotta look for deals and stuff. So, you know what, 3 to 6, let's say. Exhaust parts, you know, messing with the S54. As you guys know in my last video, S54s are really expensive motors, you know, rod bearings, Vanos, like, they're not a cheap to maintain motor, and that's the only downfall to an S54 from a stock, you know, S52. An S52 will do like 300K with like nothing changed. S54 by that time will have needed rod bearings like 3 times. It'll need the Vanos unit all rebuilt, the solenoid, the hubs. So you are putting a lot more of a maintenance heavy, scary motor in, but as I said in my E46 video, the fun you're getting out of that motor is next to none. I mean, this is a great swap because it's simple enough, just kind of like the M50 and the E30, where you can use all stock parts to get it in there, either from the donor car or the car that's receiving it. You don't have to get some crazy custom fab stuff. I don't think anything has to be custom fab except for, you know, getting the exhaust to mate. I think that's the only custom fab. But, you know, E36 M3 from the trans back, S54 all in the engine bay pretty much. So like, yes, S54 is an expensive motor, but it's not like you're putting like an LS in there. It's not like you're putting like a, you know, 2J, 1J. A lot of people say they want to do that kind of stuff. S54s are freaking rad motors, and they're fun as hell, and you still have that kind of the ease of it being a stock swap, so you're not, you know, you're not cross-referencing parts from like multiple different car brands and stuff like that. So I would say it's a semi-affordable swap. You know, it really is. It's expensive. My M50 swap, I think I did for like $3,000, and that was doing a lot of supplemental stuff. This is much less. Well, not really. He did gaskets and rod bearings and Vanos. So no, he did the full thing, but like that stuff's a lot more expensive on this thing than an M50. Yeah, you get up there like quick. So I don't have my E46 out anymore, which sucks. I wanted to put that in this video, so I can't compare it to a stock E46 M3 with a, you know, a tune and stuff. Next year we will do that. We'll line them up, get a video. So, you know, stick around for a couple months. So subscribe so you see it. But anyway, we'll compare the two. This thing is probably going to be a fair amount ahead of an E46 M3 in like a race, because obviously, but like it's a lot of fun. This I really want this now. Actually, now that I'm really driving it, like I think a lot of people kind of go between turbo or S54 when they have an E36, and at the end of the day, I think you're gonna be paying, I mean, unless you do everything yourself on a turbo, which rarely can someone wire, fabricate, and build motors. I think a turbo build will be much more expensive than this. Mine was, Justas's was, but that's multiple iterations. So I can say my turbo, you know, my turbo build was 2 times this. I mean, damn near 3 times this. And the fun factor is not too far off. High revving NA boost. It's like, it's the biggest debate in the history of like motorsports. Everyone's always kind of asking that question. 8,000 redline on an NA motor is like intoxicating and really fun, and it makes it a great corner car. You know, 500 horsepower with a turbo, the noises, the way the boost hits is also fun as hell. But E36s, and I'm talking from an E34 perspective, my boost is more usable. E36s, when you get those high horsepower boost applications, very unusable, traction issues, braking things. This S54 gives you like a decent boost in power from a stock car. I mean, stock is like, a stock S52 dyno is at like 180. I've seen stock S54 will dyno at like 280 to 300, depending on the health of the motor. With the tune, he's probably going to be looking at like a 300 wheel dyno. So, I mean, you're talking like 120 horsepower, 400 pounds less. That is a big difference, and it is definitely noticeable. This car feels much more peppy than an E36 M3, and it feels much more peppy than an E36 M3 stock. So like, it's just, you know, so is this swap worth it? I think yes. It's hard to say that from someone who didn't do it. I'd have to kind of ask him more about that, like if he would think it was worth it or not. I know he would say yes. I don't even have to ask him. And I would say yes for him, even though I didn't spend the money. But if you don't want to go boost, which is a whole nother can of worms, I would do an S54. Even, you know, I guess just what you want to look for. Boosted cars, I don't think are great, like track, like motorsport cars, like for drag, yes, and not to say that you can't drive a turbo car on the track, but like you're talking my E34, you're talking very laggy turbo, high boost at late RPM. It's not very usable in corners. NA cars are monsters in the corners. You don't have to worry about spinning out and killing yourself when 500 horsepower boost just kicks on at once. These are way more linear, and that's why they're fun. The power is obviously at top on the S54s, but it's not like it's an extra 200 horsepower at top, you know? It's much more linear than a turbo car, and that makes it much more drivable than a turbo car. And that's not to say, you know, turbo cars you can build so many different ways, but I'm just going off kind of my basis here. So I would say absolutely worth it. This is fun as hell. This car is insane. It is, I think, the perfect usable E36 power. Anything much more and you'd be kind of just fighting, spinning and stuff. Anything less, and you know, is it even worth swapping in something? Yeah, I would give it the stamp of approval. If you're thinking about doing this, I would go ahead and do it. It is going to be expensive. It might require some patience, but I think doing it, like actually doing the swap, is probably not that difficult. It could be a lot more difficult doing a lot of other things. So yeah, this thing is sick. I will close this video with just some more exhaust notes, no more talking. I'll just do some spins back towards Justas's place, and it'll just be nothing but exhaust. So from here, I will say thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I was super excited to make this video. I've been wanting to make it forever. I think S54 E36 content is sick. I think there's not a ton of it out there. So if you guys want to see more on this car, please let me know. Me and Justas can get together, do a lot more stuff with it, comparisons. I can have him run you through the build, all that stuff. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.